The Xbox 360 era is kind of overlooked a lot of times nowadays, as it's only now really starting to integrate into the retro nostalgic zone of gaming. However, there were a lot of great games on the Xbox 360 that we all remember and talk about pretty regularly, and some also released on the PS3 and PC, but also on the 360. But there also were a lot of games that released on the Xbox 360 that are kind of forgotten about, but then when you hear about the game, you're like, oh man, I haven't thought about that game in like over a decade. And those are the games that we wanted to talk about today. Like, for example, Wolfenstein. Not Wolfenstein New Order, which also released on the Xbox 360 and the Xbox One and the other systems as well. The Wolfenstein game from 2009 that was, in a way, a return to Wolfenstein, but also something else. I think Wolfenstein 2009 is interesting. It's kind of one of the lesser talked about games in the Wolfenstein series. It came out in a weird time. It had been like 8 years since the last Wolfenstein game had released, but then it was this like weird in-between time before Wolfenstein would be rebooted, kind of, by a different studio. But this Wolfenstein, the 2009 one, was actually developed by Raven Software, who now work on the Call of Duty Black Ops series, and published by Activision, who
also work on the Call of Duties.
Yeah, like, okay. So what's interesting is this game was actually intended to be a modern day follow-up to the 2001 game, Return to Castle Wolfenstein, which also was a pretty solid game. They wanted to take the classic World War II shooter experience, but then like merge it with some supernatural stuff. And that was the angle that this Wolfenstein was going in, for better or worse. Now, all the tropes are the same from what you would expect. You still played as BJ Blazkowicz. That wasn't changed. He sent on some crazy quest to find some mysterious medallion or something, and this medallion grants like magical powers, supernatural powers. Time can be slowed down. There's like damage shielding, hidden pathways, there's like attack boosts. But I think what's interesting is that there was like a narrative story connecting all of this together. And while the game was still mostly linear, there were some elements of like a hub area that you could explore. Now, the game itself was kind of received okay. It got a lot of mixed reviews, but it did get some positive reviews. I think while maybe review outlets were a little harsher on the game than it really needed to be, I think the player base that played the game did enjoy the game for the most part. It even had a multiplayer, which I think died off really quickly, but it had a multiplayer in the era of first-person shooter multiplayers releasing everywhere, which I think was ambitious, something that later Wolfenstein games never would have. Unfortunately, this game did not sell particularly well, which meant there would be nothing from this channel of Wolfenstein ever again. Instead, the rights to Wolfenstein would get shifted over to Machine Games under idsoft, which was with Bethesda, and the series would get a soft reboot in the form of Wolfenstein: The New Order. While Wolfenstein: The New Order is the start of a brand new series, this Wolfenstein game wasn't necessarily decanonized either. So plot lines from this Wolfenstein game do kind of get picked up in the newer rebooted series, which I thought was really interesting. They kind of still respected the player base that played the last one without like fully ostracizing them and making them erase that memory from the new canon, which I kind of like. So some characters that do show up in the New Order were in the previous Wolfenstein game, like Death Shed or something like that. You had like a shed of death. What was the name of the character in Wolfenstein 2 that like BJ keeps bitching about? He's like talking to himself, mumbling like, man, Anna or whatever her name was. Caroline. Do you remember Caroline?
Maybe, yeah.
He's like, Caroline, this would be easier if you were here, Caroline. Like that type of thing. She was also in Wolfenstein 2009 before she was in a wheelchair. So I think this game was interesting. And for this video in general, at the beginning of a game, we want to show the box art. We did that with Wolfenstein because I think the box art is a big part of the nostalgia here, or like the memory. Like, even if you didn't play necessarily every single game here, you probably saw it on the shelves at a GameStop or a Blockbuster or a Hollywood Video. And that's wild in itself. The box art of the game is a really key role in what we're talking about here. So we're going to continue. There's a lot of other games to talk about. But before we get into the rest of the video, this video is sponsored by Manta Sleep. Manta Sleep makes high quality sleep accessories designed to help you get deeper, uninterrupted rest anytime, anywhere. We've been using their accessories pretty much every night for a few months now, and honestly, they've kind of made a huge difference. Our favorite product by far is the Manta Sound Sleep Mask. It's not just a blackout mask that blocks out 100% light. It also has built-in speakers, so you can listen to your favorite podcasts, Rocket Sloth, Rocket Elijah videos. You can listen to music, or just use like white noise, or if you're a legend, you know about the cooler sound that brown noise makes. It gives off the vibe that you're like inside of a UPS delivery truck. It just puts me right to sleep. I don't know. Instead of tossing and turning, you just put on the mask, cue up whatever you want, and before you know it, you're out and asleep. The comfort is what really sells it. The mask's super soft and it doesn't press against your eyes, which means you feel great whether you're a side sleeper like me or someone who just needs total darkness to relax. And since it's fully adjustable, you can customize the fit so it never feels tight or awkward. But that's that's not all. If you want to improve your sleep even more, check out their other sleep gear they offer. They have a ton of different masks for every preference and other sleep gear like travel pillows for easy sleep on the go. If you want to take your own sleep to the next level, check them out through the link in our description or use our code to get 10% off your order.
You talked about Wolfenstein. That was made by Raven Software, right? And we all know they got banished to the Call of Duty realms. They're only allowed to work on Call of Duty nowadays. But after Wolfenstein, they made one more game. And the game was called Singularity.
I've never seen this cover before. I was going to be like, oh, you know what? I didn't recognize the name of the game, but when I saw the box art, I knew exactly what you're talking about. I can't say I ever remember seeing this.
I saw this back in the day on the shelves, and I never picked it up, never played it. But this is a first-person shooter that kind of plays like BioShock and Half-Life, and it's set in this Soviet-era sci-fi horror setting. It's like a lot of puzzles, and it just has some weird mechanics. I mean, they really tried to create some avant-garde stuff here. Now, this wasn't exclusive to Xbox 360. I mean, I did see it for the Xbox 360 around that time. When this game was showed off, people were like, oh, this looks cool. Raven Software has some games in the past, so maybe this will be cool. But actually, after this, a bunch of people got laid off, and then they got put on Call of Duty. So I guess it wasn't very successful. And I mean, reviews for the game weren't that bad. It actually got like 7 to 8 out of 10s. But I guess the sales did not reflect that. This is probably one of the big reasons why they're on Call of Duty now.
Okay, I'm not trying to make an entire video just talking about Raven Software, but because you brought up Raven Software again, I do have one more Raven Software game, but it's a little bit older than Singularity and Wolfenstein. It actually was one of the launch titles for the Xbox 360, which I didn't realize this was even a launch title for the Xbox 360. And we're talking about Quake 4. Did you know that that was a launch title on the 360?
No. What the hell?
Yeah, I had no idea. Actually, it shows how little I know about the Quake series because I didn't even know there were 4 games to begin with. I've only played a very little bit of Quake. I played the first one. I think, did it come out on Xbox recently? Like they bundled something?
They remastered or something like some of the old games?
I played a little bit of something on Xbox and I just assumed it was Quake 1 and Quake 2.
I think it was that. I remember. We played co-op in it. It was like the remastered of like the first games.
I assumed there would be a Quake 3 just because you hear about Quake 1 and 2. There's probably a third one. Didn't know it went as far as 4. Nonetheless, Quake 4 existed on the Xbox 360, and during the launch time of the Xbox 360, you didn't really have that many options of games to play if you were into FPS games. Mind you, the Xbox's built-in player base were mostly coming from Halo 2, so they were going to look for an FPS to play. So Quake 4 existing was cool, I guess. It was either you played Quake 4 or you played Perfect Dark Zero, so pick your poison. Now the problem is, while I don't think Quake 4 was like aided on too much, the Xbox 360 version was definitely the worst version. There was a lot of frame rate issues with the game. Matter of fact, GameSpot.com gave it the most aggravating frame rate best slideshow in the best and worst list of 2005.
Sometimes it's just too hard to maintain one of the fundamentals of game presentation. Here are GameSpot's finalists for most aggravating frame rate / best slideshow.
Quake 4, the power of the 360, is nowhere to be found on planet Stragos, and the winner is Quake 4 for the Xbox 360. The parallel to the game itself here is uncanny. What was a fun, good-looking PC shooter had its guts ripped out and replaced by sinister machinery upon its arrival on the Xbox 360.
I get it.
Which is a crazy title for like the best of type thing. It also had really bad load times, a lot of glitches.
I think it was the first Quake come out on Xbox.
Oh, on period? Like Xbox as a whole?
Yeah, I think Dreamcast and PlayStation had something, but like this was the first.
Oh. Well, there you go. It was the first Xbox Quake.
After that, Splash Damage and Activision made a Quake game, and then the series went on hiatus for 10 years.
That sounds about right for something like this. I mean, this was Raven and Activision for Quake 4.
Right, and then I guess they replaced Raven.
With Splash Damage, yeah. Did they do Enemy Territory Quake Wars? That's a crazy name for a game, by the way. And that also released on the 360 and PS3. Wild times. But nonetheless, I think people forget about that. Also, just while we're at it, Perfect Dark Zero, I think this game would fit in this video perfectly, but we're not going to talk about it because we talk about Perfect Dark like every other week on this channel. So I think we're going to skip that one. And while I don't think anyone else ever remembers this game, we definitely do constantly. So let's not beat a dead horse anymore. The game wasn't really that good, and we can just move on past that one.
Have you ever heard of a game series called Earth Defense Force?
What the hell? I have seen this game before, and I think I remember asking myself, what the hell is this box art?
Have you seen this one? Or have you seen this one?
Are these different games?
These are different games, and they both came out on 360. Like, this was a popular Japanese series before then, right? Like, the whole vibe is like, I think back in the day, they were like budget games. Like, they were cheap games people could buy. And they kind of like the B-movie type feel to it, right?
Wait, hold on. What is that analogy? The B movie?
Yeah, like a B movie?
Yeah, like I know of the movie. What about it?
No, like B- movie, not the B's.
Okay. I thought you were talking about that like CGI movie with the bees.
No, not the best comedy movie ever made.
I was like, how does this connect? I swear I'm not the only person who heard you say that and thought of the bee movie.
It's all good. But anyway, so with Earth Defense Force 2017, that was the first game to get a US release. So they wanted to go all in with the 360, I guess. And 2025 was the follow-up game that also came out on 360. But then after the 360 era, there was never a Earth Defense Force game on Xbox again. And they would be PlayStation exclusives going forward.
It didn't work.
You know, you might have seen these covers, but I don't know, they're very, very unknown games in hindsight.
Okay, so far out of the 3 covers you've sent me, I don't think I remember ever seeing any of these 3 games on the shelf at like a store. I've only ever seen the Earth Defense Force. I think I saw them when we talked about them in a video once, and that's probably it. But I have one that I'm pretty sure most people have seen the box art for. Most people have seen the box art for, and I feel like most people probably never actually played the game. Or if they did, it was like a rental and maybe they bought it. They were unlucky and bought it. Timeshift. Do you remember that game?
Did we talk about that in our Halo knockoff?
Yeah. Way back when we did Halo content, we did talk about this in our like Halo Killers video.
I vaguely remember this game.
So this is interesting. This game seemed like initially when it was in development, it was very ambitious. And then they did the whole like, we're going to rework the game. And they scaled a lot of things back. And it resulted in the game just kind of being meh. So the game was originally announced in 2004. And I think like they were trying to convey the idea that this game is different from all the other shooters that released in 2004. Because 2004 had like Half-Life 2, it had Halo 2. Did it have a Killzone in there also? Probably.
Probably, yeah.
Who knows what else came out during that time? Probably Call of Duty, maybe a Medal of Honor. Nonetheless, this was different because it was like the thinking man's first-person shooter. You know, like if you want to get all like philosophical and strategic here, maybe Timeshift is for you. I don't think it worked very well. Now, the game initially was shown off in 2005 and had like this really dark tone to it, and the art direction kind of looked one way, and then all of a sudden when the game would surface years later, the game obviously changed a lot along the way where everything time shifted. I did not mean to do that. So the game was developed by Saber Interactive, who later went on to do like a lot of work for like Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary, and they always like throw something out every once in a while and you're kind of just looking at it sideways. Sierra Entertainment, also known as Vivendi Games, was the publisher, and it seemed like they wanted things to be scaled back dramatically before the game could launch, which put the game in like development hell for a while before it finally did surface. And while the game had graphics that were retooled and they reworked the story to a point where a lot of the story didn't make any sense, it also finally launched in 2007. One of the busiest years for first-person shooters. Literally, if they could have gotten this game out in 2005 or 2006, the game probably could have stood a chance. I mean, it was competing against Perfect Dark Zero and Quake 4, which didn't work. Instead, they released in 2007 when they had to compete against Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare and Halo 3. The odds were stacking up. Obviously, they tried to lean into like the gameplay. You know, you could freeze time. You could slow down time like you're in Matrix or something, and you could even like undo your mistakes and rewind time a little bit. And then there was like puzzles and first-person shooter stuff. There was a story in there somewhere. It just seemed, for most people who played it, a little bit incoherent at times. I do have to say, like looking back at the gameplay, knowing this came out in 2007, visually speaking, it's okay. Like it looks like kind of like something that could have been a good game here. Like it was cutting edge graphics. I mean, maybe not the best graphics ever, but not the worst by far. But when the game finally ended up releasing, it was pretty middle of the road. It was getting like 70%. I think it even scored worse on the PlayStation 3 because of performance issues. They never would make another game or a sequel or a follow-up ever again. It's kind of just one of those games that's remembered as this like Xbox 360, PS3 era
anomaly.
Anomaly is a good word. Maybe like first-person shooter experiment gone wrong. I think the fact that the game was kind of mid, and then it also released at a time where there was way too much competition, it fell apart.
Let me send you the cover for this one. And then you got to read the full cover above the thing, or read the name. Okay.
I recognize this. Rockstar Games presents Table Tennis. I never played this. I do remember seeing this on the Xbox 360 store often.
And I mean, obviously Rockstar, like they were already big when they released this in 2006.
This is post San Andreas Rockstar we're talking about.
So they released it in 2006 as an Xbox 360 exclusive, and then later it would come to the Wii, like a year later. But for a year, it was only on the 360, right? On the Wii, it makes sense. But what the hell are you going to play this on the 360 for? Now, this is technically not a game. This is a tech showcase that they made into a full game for their Rockstar Advanced Game Engine, which would be the game engine used for GTA 4, Red Dead Redemption, and other titles. And for some reason, they decided to make a full game and release it. This is just a glorified tech demo. Still, it was good. It wasn't a bad game, which is kind of crazy that they just randomly brought a table tennis game, and it was kind of fire.
How much did this game retail for?
$40.
$40
$40
for table tennis? I was thinking like Xbox Arcade $10. I was like, this is like before inflation and all that. It was probably like $10, and that's egregious. $40. This must be like the best table tennis game that's ever existed. How are the reviews on it?
Pretty good. That's what I'm saying. Like, it was well received. Metacritic, it has an 81 for critics and a 7.6 for users. It was probably the highest game we talked about so far, actually.
I'm surprised. Okay, this is an interesting one because I'd seen the game's box art for years and just never got around to picking it up until randomly I was at a GameStop when I was in college and I picked this game up for $5 because I recognized the box art all those years later. And that is the 2007 game The Darkness.
Like a vampire character or something, maybe?
No. Let me fill you in here. So The Darkness follows the protagonist, Jackie Estacado, who's a mafia hitman who inherits a demonic force on his 21st birthday. I didn't play too much of the game, but conceptually speaking, it was a wild ride. Now, it seems like it actually drew source material from a comic book that came out in 1996. So like they were working with something cool. While this game did this whole blend of like guns and demonic superpowers, it also had kind of like a deep character-driven story, which for 2007 FPS games, it's actually quite a bit different from what you would expect. Standout game here. Surprised it hasn't gotten a remaster because I feel like this is an easy candidate for a potential remaster. It had good atmosphere, interesting storytelling. It had this whole angle with the character you play as Jackie and his girlfriend Jenny. It adds stakes whenever there's like a girlfriend involved in a video game. You got to remember, Luke, most of the Xbox 360 players never had a girlfriend at any point at this point.
Right, so wouldn't it mean they couldn't relate to this?
No, this was like them getting to live out their fantasy.
Oh, I see.
They get to be a demon lord that has guns and have a girlfriend. It's like the trifecta right there. And mind you, this is 2007. This is like peak emo era of pop culture. Everything lined up really well here. I wish it sold better. I mean, I don't think it sold terribly, but I think that this game really has like a core fan base that enjoyed it, but it's definitely never talked about nowadays. They did do a sequel, which I feel like is even less remembered, and it came out in 2012, The Darkness 2. Mind you, while they did do some interesting things here, they made some choices that I think didn't work as well for The Darkness 2. First of all, they changed the art style to go more cel-shaded, graphic novel-esque. I mean, it wasn't fully, but like a little bit more in that style to match the comic book inspiration. They tried to like take some of the more heartfelt moments that added stakes and match them with like over-the-top action sequences, which was happening all over the place in the gaming industry in 2012 because of Call of Duty's popularity. I don't think that worked as well, and I think ultimately the story maybe didn't feel as good as the first one because of that. It wasn't as like intimate maybe. Also, I want to point out it came out in 2012, which was definitely when the emo pop culture was kind of on a down trend and like hipster culture was on the uptrend. So I don't think they had maybe that like built-in player base that was consuming anything that was dark and edgy and getting excited about it like they maybe could have had access to during The Darkness 1. And I think because of all those factors, we never did get to see The Darkness come back yet. There were rumors for years that The Darkness 3 was in development. The studio ended up spinning off from 2K, the publisher, and they still own the IP. So they could do a remaster of the first two. They could do a sequel. We just haven't heard anything about it.
It would have been insane if they switched over to a hipster theme.
I hope not. What would be the equivalent now? Like a Zoomer theme?
Yeah, but like that would have stayed relevant. What if they just kept switching every time they released, you know?
Like instead you're a hipster in the Mafia?
Yeah. And then you're a Zoomer in the Mafia?
Sounds like Saints Row. I don't know. Like the reboot.
Oh, actually, wait a minute. Oh, Lord.
I want to point something out, though. The Darkness 2 did have one feature that they advertised pretty heavily as like a distinctive feature you could only experience in The Darkness 2. And sure enough, I will say I've never heard of this feature appearing in any other video game thus far. This game allowed you to not dual wield, but quad wield. So you could use 2 guns and 2 demon arms at the same time. Pretty cool. Is it worth the $60? Probably. The Darkness 2 did end on a cliffhanger, so there probably were intentions for a third one. We just haven't ever gotten that one resolved just yet. I'm holding out hope. Maybe one day.
Maybe the next Xbox E3 presentation.
No, because it'll just get canceled. Do you remember when we watched that Xbox showcase that showed off the Halo Infinite gameplay that then resulted in the game getting delayed?
Yeah.
Like it was a mess. And the whole like Craig thing, Craig meme became a thing. So during that same presentation, okay, watch this. Look,
Oh,
what game is that?
The Darkness?
3. So is it happening? This was 5 years ago.
Why would they do this?
I don't know, dude.
They got me trolling, dude.
It's so weird, right? Apparently, one of the CEOs of some studios said that they wanted to remaster the first one and then port it to PC. But yeah, like I don't know anything about it.
I wonder if whoever made that graphic or like the animation for this, right, pulled a Darkness 3 logo that a fan made on accident instead of a Darkness 2 logo. That's my theory.
But they added the whole like Xbox like disc thing at the top.
I'm just saying, like, the guy who got paid to make this animation pulled the wrong logo.
Yeah, I don't know. This is a weird thing, right? Like, I thought I was like just misremembering something, and I looked into it, and wild.
I sent you this cover, and you probably recognize this one, right?
I don't think I recognize this one.
But you don't? Anyways, I feel like everyone who sees this recognizes this besides Elijah. But now, let me hit you with this one. They made a sequel that you probably also won't recognize because you didn't recognize the first.
I don't recognize this one either.
I knew about the first one. I didn't know about the sequel. And, where'd you go?
I spilled something and I was picking up a towel.
Okay. Okay, so
I forgot, sorry.
The first Operation Flashpoint Dragon Rising was a reboot to the franchise, and it was kind of like not that good. And then they decided to make a sequel, and that was called Operation Flashpoint Red River. Now, both of these were military first-person shooters, and they were like kind of like the Ghost Recon type games. Like it's very squad-based and teamwork. It's very slow, and it's supposed to be very realistic. I don't know. I remember seeing the collector's editions for these games even everywhere. Now, this wasn't an Xbox 360 exclusive, but still, I know some people played the first one at least on 360. I don't know if I've ever seen anyone play the second one. I guess they were trying to create like an Armor type series, but for consoles, and it definitely did not work out because both of these games kind of flopped. They kind of abandoned this franchise. And I don't think we've ever gotten a new Operation Flashpoint game. And I don't think we ever will, actually. Codemasters is even still around. Oh, they got bought by EA, so they're probably not going to make another.
I have a trilogy of games that I think never get talked about now. I never see them even for sale on the Xbox. They probably are backwards compatible, but I don't even know because this is how obscure they are nowadays. And the box art I want to specifically look at that I think will encapsulate the entire trilogy is the first one. But let's talk about Lost Planet Extreme Condition from 2006 came out, right?
I mean, I don't know, but what'd you say, like from 2006 to 2006?
I don't know. I was like thinking like it came out. I mean, I guess the series 2006 2013.
They made 3 of them, right?
Yeah, they made 3 games. I tried to get into the series multiple times. It never clicked with me. But these were like really popular back in the day. I think some people really did enjoy them. It was a Capcom game series. You're on some like frozen planet. You could tell that by the way it is on the box art. The first game sold really well, actually. 2.8 million copies, which was a lot, especially by 2006, 2007. When did this game come out? Why does my note say 2006, 2007?
Japanese release was 2006. Worldwide release was 2007.
There it is. Cool. The thing is, when they did the sequel in 2010, they kind of tried to shift a lot of things with like the atmosphere. They were like, goodbye cold. Here's a jungle and a desert. Not that I think the cold was like essential to the gameplay. Like there's just a big shift, tonal shift from how the gameplay worked in the first game to how things kind of worked in the second one. Like for instance, the whole like thermal imaging thing that was a big part of the first game was like heavily de-emphasized. And then like a huge emphasis was put on the co-op mode. Got to get the team of 4 people together and play it. But then there was like still a single player to it. And I don't know. It was a little bit confusing on how the game operated. It still sold 1.6 million units, which is good, but I think Capcom expected it to sell better than the first one. And mind you, the first one sold 2.8 million. So it was pretty shy of that. Nonetheless, they were like, let's throw it back in the ring with Lost Planet 3, which came out the very end of the Xbox 360's life. They outsourced to a different development studio, Spark Unlimited, which was an American studio. This was during the time where Capcom was outsourcing a ton of things like DMC Devil May Cry or Bionic Commando. So this was just one of those. Lost Planet 3 was a prequel, despite the name insinuating it was like a third one, and they wanted to make the game more narrative focused. There was obviously just a big shift from how the game felt overall, with 2 original games that already were pretty different from each other, and then a third game which was made by a different studio in a different country, and just overall this game did not receive very well. A lot of negative reviews. Some people liked that there was a story and a little bit more survival, but it was just kind of out there and detached from the main games.
But they did go back to the cold, right?
I think a little bit. I think there is some cold in the game, yeah. If that was the selling point for the first one, you were set with the third one. The game sold less than 1 million units. And they haven't done a game since.
It's funny that you brought up Spark Unlimited, because there's another game that I had looked into a little bit. I remember seeing this cover like all around.
We are 0 for how many on the ones that you've suggested of box arts that I've recognized? I've never seen this box art. Was it different in the West maybe? Or not in the West, but in North America?
No, I think this was just the boxer. You know, same developer, and this was like a supernatural first-person shooter, like some wild story about Pandora's box and stuff. And it was an Xbox 360 exclusive for like a week before it came to PlayStation.
Ooh.
Which that's actually a very short time. Upon release, people just kind of were like, this game's terrible. People were initially hyped because like the trailers look cool, as they always do.
Dude, the box art looks wild. The more I'm looking at it, like I could see myself in the store just staring at this, trying to unpack what is going on.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
There's like a big oxman, and then there's like a raven, a griffin or something. There's 2 of those. There's a gun.
Yeah, the guy has like an AK or something.
I don't even know what the little beast man is in the middle. And then the Statue of Liberty, of course.
The head of the Statue of Liberty, not just the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah, a very Planet of the Apes-esque.
It's too bad that the game wasn't good. It also released the same year as Fallout 3, Left 4 Dead, and Grand Theft Auto 4. So like, obviously it was overshadowed by other games.
Real quick, do you see that on the box art in the bottom, the names of the development studio? Who named their development studio Gamecock Media Group? I was just staring at this like, all right. What games has Gamecock Media Group worked on?
You remember Stronghold Crusader Extreme?
No.
Okay, you remember Pirates vs. Ninjas Dodgeball?
What?
Remember Mushroom Men for the Wii?
What?
Those are all the games. Or Hail to the Chimp?
I've heard of Hail to the Chimp, but I've never seen the box art for it.
There's a couple more, but even more obscure.
The box art for Fury looks really cool, but I've never seen the game before. It looks very like Elder Scrolls-esque. Okay, so there's 2 games I want to talk about that were really big during the Xbox 360 time, or at least talked about. I don't know if they were like big sales wise, but that's the game Splitsecond, which I think was a really ambitious idea for a racing game. It's a racing game, it has all these hazards and stuff, but in the universe, you're a part of like a television series. It's like a fictional reality TV show. All of the like stuff that's exploding is like a part of it. And then there's like episodes, and the environment's destructible. And it was a pretty cool idea. It even got nominated for Racing Game of the Year, which was a pretty big thing for 2010 standards. The sales were still disappointing though. It only sold 86,000 copies in the first 12 days, you know, not the best. That might just be responsible by the fact that the racing genre, especially on the Xbox 360, was already really saturated. I mean, Xbox already had PGR and they already had Forza, and I think this was gearing up for Forza Horizon. Didn't that come out sometime around there? There was like the Need for Speed series. There's a lot of racing games out there, and I think it's really hard for a fresh new series, especially one that's not necessarily like leaning into the sport aspect of racing, to just like jump in. Forza Horizon was successful, but Forza had already been around for a while. So that ended up killing off Splitsecond. They did tease a sequel at the end of episode 12 of the game. There's like a cutscene that sets up, you know, like more to come in the future. However, after the game came out and the sales weren't the best, the studio, Black Rock Studio, was downsized, and then eventually Disney closed them down in 2011. So that was it for that. But there was another racing game also around this time called Blur, and that was interesting. This came out in 2010, and it was more of like an arcade style game, but there was like some vehicular combat aspects to it, and there was like real world locations in it, and it kind of brought racing back to like a little arcadey feel, and that was cool. And it actually reviewed pretty well. The game started off kind of slow on sales. It didn't sell as well as Splitsecond would, but eventually it did pick up speed and sell quite a few units, about 500,000 units for a racing game. It does look like there were plans for a sequel. There was some development made. However, probably because the game didn't reach, you know, the massive millions that they wanted it to reach, the sequel ended up getting canceled altogether. There was plans for some interesting things, like you might have been able to have wall riding in the sequel, which would have been wild, but yeah, we didn't get Blur 2, I guess. So yeah, rest in peace Blur, rest in peace Splitsecond. I remember your box arts, and I think I played a little bit of Splitsecond once.
I think I played Blur. That game was pretty fire.
Nobody played both. You either played Splitsecond or you played Blur. There was no in between. And I'm basing that strictly on just you and I talking. I actually don't know.
I also think Split Second was called something slightly different for me.
Like in Germany?
Split Second Velocity or something like that.
Oh, I saw that when I was doing research. Yeah, it must have been the PAL name. Dude, we should just start adding subtitles to our stuff. Like Rocket Sloth Velocity. Dude, do you know what that makes me think of? We just talked about it in our Xbox era mistakes, controversies video. But like that whole presentation on Velocity Girl. It's like, this is Velocity Girl.
She likes to make stickers.
Talk about Velocity Girl. We all know someone like her. She might pick up a controller every once in a while over at a friend's house, but really, gaming's not a central part of her existence. With Xbox 360, we have an answer. She's going to rejoin us because we're delivering a fresh set of services designed to nurture community. Whether retro, puzzle, or just plain old time-killing games like Solitaire, we're going to have an amazing assortment of games available. The marketplace is going to be a way to get Velocity Girl re-engaged with our market and re-engaged with games. Now, she might never pick up a controller, never take a run in the half-pipe, but she'll be able to design and sell stickers, shirts, boards, soundtracks, and even design her own skate park. For those hardcore gamers, Velocity Girl is going to love Xbox 360.
I have another game, and you actually sent me this box cover, but this game I remembered very well because this was made by a European studio and they would promote the hell out of it, in Europe at least. You remember me? Well, nobody seems to remember this one. I do have to say, when this game came out, I thought this was gonna be the next big thing. The trailer looked so cool. It was like this cyberpunk aesthetic, a new IP. It looked promising. When the game actually came out, it was kind of like weird. It was just another third-person shooter that released in 2013, which already had a bunch of third-person shooter release. It had like a puzzle-like system that was kind of cool, but there was like not that much in the game. And also there was a bunch of development issues. And initially it was gonna be published by Sony, but apparently they backed out of the publishing deal because the development wasn't progressing like they wanted it to. So then they had to find a new publisher and new funding. And it was just like a whole big thing. I think they blamed it on them having a female protagonist back then. They tried to play the sexism card, but I think the game and development was just booty cheeks.
Gamers just don't get it.
Yeah. What's interesting about this, though, is this is the first game of the studio that made Life is Strange. So they would go on to have massive success.
With a female protagonist.
With a female protagonist, but not with Remember Me. That game is definitely forgotten.
Now, back in the earliest days of the Xbox 360, just like with any console that is new to release and then maybe doesn't have full backwards compatibility, sometimes you're limited as to what games you can actually play. It's like my issue with the Switch 2. It's like, I'm thrilled to have it. I mean, the Switch 2 has Mario Kart and Donkey Kong Bonanza, I guess, and that's it. Like, there's not a lot. Like, I'm just waiting for something to come out. And I think a lot of people in the early Xbox 360 days probably ran into that also. But Condemned, Criminal Origins was there in 2005. A first-person survival horror. It was action. It was gritty. It had everything you could ask for. And I skipped this game when I saw it at Hollywood Video to rent because I thought to myself, I am not interested in ninja games. Based on this box art, I thought that it was a ninja on the cover, and I was wrong. Apparently those are chains. So I didn't get to play this game when I was, you know, a wee lad with an Xbox 360, my brother's Xbox 360, because I wasn't really interested in ninjas. So I was like, eh. I was talking to Luke yesterday offline, not for the video, talking about how I thought Condemned was a ninja game. And he didn't see it, so I opened up Photoshop and I drew this.
You know, this made me think, though, when I reevaluated some other covers, and I was like, oh, yeah, this is good evidence. So I made some other evidence, too.
Were you sitting on this for this whole entire time, like ready to show this during this section of the video?
Yeah, dude.
This is toxic.
Not bad.
What is Bullet Witch?
Oh, well, actually, you want me to tell you about that one next?
Go ahead. Yeah, just go right into it.
This was made by the studio that made Nier, but this was one of the earliest Xbox 360 exclusive and was hyped up because it had destructive environments, which back then was a big deal, right? Like, you can destroy a bridge, people are like, wowzers! At least back in 2006. Nowadays they're like, oh wow. Issue was, the game didn't run well, and it was kind of panned because of that. They ported it in 2018 to PC, but that also didn't do that well, and also still ran like butt cheeks. So yeah, this is just a really forgotten game. There's not that many copies out there, and when the 360 store shut down, it's like really hard to play this game now unless you buy it. It's $40 on eBay. More sometimes.
I was thinking about whether or not I wanted to do a section on the game Chromehounds.
Oh, I have that research actually.
Oh, good, because I was just thinking about how I never recognized the box art. I'm like, I've never seen this game before. And of course, you have it on your list. Like, we've yet to have a game that you put on the list that I've recognized.
Well, this is true, but I mean, you know, makes it even more forgotten.
You go ahead.
Nonetheless, this is a From Software game. Same company that made Dark Souls and Elden Ring, by the way. This was a very ambitious game, actually. I think this was like a multiplayer game where you boot up the game and you have to pledge allegiance to one of the 3 factions. And then you have to join a clan in order to participate in the war, to defend the continent. And every match, you know, moves your faction along and stuff, right? And winning the world war. And it's just like a very ambitious game for the time. And it was a mech game. I should have mentioned that earlier, but like it wasn't a first-person shooter. It was a third-person mech game, which I feel like that's not a lot of people don't play the mech games. It's definitely a niche thing, I would say. The game did okay, was reviewed okay, but they did shut down the servers in 2010. It's not playable anymore because, you know, it was basically about the online war. And if the servers are down, you can't
experience the online war.
Yeah, but it was a unique project from them that is often forgotten. And I mean, the Xbox 360 exclusive by From Software, kind of crazy.
Do you remember, was Blue Dragon in 2006 an Xbox 360 exclusive?
Yes.
So that was the next game I was going to talk about. So it's kind of relevant. This was Xbox's attempt during the 360 era to make a stand in Japan and try to get people to play their games. And they had Blue Dragon, which was like an action RPG game. They were trying to get a better appeal in Japan, which would then turn out to have a bigger appeal in Asian markets and so on and so forth. The game surprisingly was positively reviewed for an early Xbox 360 game that was a JRPG, a rare feat for Xbox. The visuals were pretty good, graphics, art style, music, all of it was neat. And the sales in Japan, despite the fact that the Xbox 360 did not sell well in Japan, still got like 200,000 sales, which was really big for Microsoft in like the bubble of Japan, not really big for Microsoft in like a global sense as far as what they were trying to achieve with their first party games. So there were rumors like a year ago that Blue Dragon might get like a remaster or revival. But then the creator of the series, Hironobu Sakaguchi, apparently said that he had no interest in bringing Blue Dragon or his other game series, Lost Odyssey, which we've talked about on this channel before, to modern platforms. So it's probably not going to happen. There were 2 more games in the Blue Dragon series though, but they weren't Xbox 360 games. They were Nintendo DS games. That's the weirdest thing. It's like, why would you make a sequel game to Blue Dragon for the Nintendo DS? It actually makes sense though. The Nintendo DS sold very well in Japan. Anybody who had an Xbox 360 in Japan, like they were buying some niche consoles already. They probably already had a Nintendo DS. So I can understand why they did that for Blue Dragon Plus and Blue Dragon Awakened Shadow, which is a wild name for a game.
You said you don't remember this game, right?
No, I haven't seen this one either until you sent it to me yesterday.
This is a game made by Artificial Mind and Movement, which are now Behavior Interactive, who make Dead by Daylight. And it was published by Bethesda, out of all people, like the Bethesda. You know what Grindhouse movies are? Planet Terror and stuff like that? Right. This game was supposed to have that aesthetic. And that was kind of like the appeal of it, right? And then a lot of action, a lot of sword gunplay, blah, 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 like jumping around. Like it's just a combo game. It was just action packed. And when they first showed off the trailer, people were like, holy shit, this looks fire. People kind of thought that it looked fun and it was published by Bethesda, so they were willing to give it a shot. The actual game is kind of repetitive. It had a bunch of technical problems, like many games around that time. And it also released against games like Uncharted 2 and Batman Arkham Asylum, which definitely are better games, so it couldn't stand out against those. The game did end on a cliffhanger though, so there was some plans for a sequel, like Wet 2, or would I have called it Wetter?
Wait, you know what? I want to say I vaguely remember some gameplay footage. Have we ever talked about this in a video?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure.
If it was, it would have been something you talked about. Maybe I just watched a video. Was there like, and this could just be a different game I'm thinking of, but like a big action sequence in like a restaurant at the beginning?
Was that wet? I don't think a game starts off in a restaurant.
If we find out what game it is, we'll record a part about it.
Or maybe the comments will have to let us know, because I don't remember.
Yeah, someone let us know what game I'm thinking of that has a female character and it's like a big restaurant that's like action is happening in it. It might not be a video game, it could be a movie also, but I think it's a video game. Now, I wanted to do a section where we kind of speed ran a few games because there's so many games from this era, some that are a little more remembered than others, but I still wanted to mention them. So I'm like, we could just fly through this section, show the games on the screen. If you remember anything about it, we can talk about it, but otherwise we'll just keep on flying on through. The first one is Bulletstorm, wild game. It was made by People Can Fly, which I think they went on to do Gears of War Judgment. Originally, they were working on a cover based turn-based third-person shooter, much like Gears of War. But instead, the pacing of the game got like sped up during development, and the game released, and I think a lot of people did like it. People have been wanting a new Bulletstorm game for years. They did a remaster in 2017 that had some new content and like improved visuals, but otherwise, that's kind of it for this game. We haven't heard if there's anything else ever coming in the future for this series. It would be cool to see, but I don't know if there's an audience for it. I think they were trying to feel out how the remaster would do, and maybe it wasn't enough to prioritize making a sequel.
Did you know they released a demo for this game that was like a Call of Duty parody? Like super over the top. Actually crazy playing. That's like very on the nose, just like straight up parody.
Does that take place in a restaurant?
No, that takes place on like a training field, like intro tutorial level.
Rare had a couple of games that released during this time before they were banished to the Shadow Realm with the Kinect games they had to do for a while, but they had cameo elements of power, platformer, and it was in development for a really long time. It had a really complicated development cycle. It did finally release, and then it didn't really perform all that well. Characters weren't, I think, like recognizable in like the classic Rare mascot feel that they were known for. There were plans, I think, for a little while internally for a potential sequel. It never ended up getting greenlit. I think the first game didn't sell well enough, so then they had to refocus their company. At the same time, Viva Pinata, on the other hand, very different for Rare to do a game like Viva Pinata, but it ended up being really, really successful. And there was a couple of sequels to the game, spin-offs, a television series that I remember I could watch on my Comcast on demand, and I remember watching it at like 6 a.m. one time when I accidentally woke up too early before school. A little bit of a fever dream. I was like half awake watching it, but it was a wild CGI show in itself. Viva Pinata hasn't been around for anything, surprisingly, in years. Last thing it was in was a Rare Replay, but I mean, that's like everything Rare's ever done has been in that. Some people said that Everwild was supposed to have some Viva Pinata vibes, but Everwild's canceled, so I guess we'll never know there.
Oh, well, I look like booty cheeks, so not gonna lie.
It definitely felt like maybe there was more going on that could have been.
I don't know, a no combat game.
Do you ever remember seeing the game Gun in 2005?
Yeah, like a skull with like guns on the cover or something.
Yeah. This was technically a PS2, Xbox, GameCube game, but it was a launch title for the 360. It was like a Western open world game. I mean, this was like the Red Dead before Red Dead, but after Red Dead Revolver. I haven't played this game. I remember seeing it everywhere though. So I was like, we need to at least mention it. Similarly, do you remember the cover for Call of Juarez?
Yeah, like it's just like the guy pointing the revolver at you.
Yeah, and his like mouth's open maybe? Where's that? Not.
This is mouth. Hey, close that mouth.
Okay, never mind. His mouth was closed. Maybe I was getting it, my lines crossed with Red Dead Revolver. Red Dead Revolver. I was getting the lines crossed there because we were just talking about it. Call of Juarez, though, another cowboy type game, Western type game. Interestingly enough, the most times I've ever seen Call of Juarez was when I was at Hollywood Video trying to find a Call of Duty game to rent, and they were all rented. And you go to like, it was an alphabetical order, so you're like going Call of Duty, Call of Juarez. That's how I found out about the series. Never really played it. Is it worth checking out? Have you played any of them?
Nope.
All right. Well, let us know, chat. Chat, like we're live streaming this.
Or thinks he's Kaisernet.
Let us know, chat. Let us know in the comments. And then the last game I had to talk about, an Xbox exclusive. This was Xbox's big push in 2008. They were going to do it all. And that's the game called Lips.
Lips? Wait, I've never heard of this one.
Yeah, dude, you got to talk about wet. I got to talk about Lips. This was a karaoke game. Came with a microphone and everything.
Maybe it was like their answer to SingStar?
Yeah, it was. Exactly that. The thing is, this was during the time where like music games were really, really big. But also, this is 2008, which is, I'm pretty sure, a year after Rock Band came out. And Rock Band was like the definitive karaoke game also because you could sing in that game. It had a couple of sequels. Lips #1 hits, Lips Party Classics, Lips I Love the 80s. And then they never really used the Lips series again. Xbox, bring it back. They need to make a Super Smash Bros. Equivalent where they get all of their IPs together, have the characters fight it out. We need Joanna Dark, Master Chief, the Skyrim guy, what's his name? Mr. Dragonborn, the Doomslayer, and Lips all together. All of the big names that everyone recognizes. That was my last game.
I have a bunch still, but I might just go over it, I guess, relatively quickly. We talked about some forgotten racing games, but have you ever seen this one?
No.
No? What the hell?
We need to like just make a game here at this point where you just start sending me them and we see if we can recognize them.
Yeah, actually, how long is it going to take?
We were like, oh, let's make a list. And I made a list of like 15 games and you made a list of like 28 or 29 games. What else we got? Okay, Juice 2. Was the game good?
Yeah, it was good. It was okay. Like the vibe was good. It was definitely like Need for Speed Underground vibe. So that's all. It's just kind of like, it was a fun game. That's all. There's nothing really too much going on with it. Then you remember this game?
I've seen this box art before. This is the first one that you've sent me. I've seen the box art before, but I'm pretty sure we've talked about it in like 4 different videos. So that's probably the only reason I recognize it.
Right. We talked about it, I think, because they got super Epic Games about the use of Unreal Engine and they had like a lawsuit and then they couldn't sell the game for a while or something. And And I don't know, this game just had a lot of hype and a lot of development trouble. It started out as a PlayStation 1 game, then GameCube, and then ended up on the 360. So I don't know what the hell went wrong with this game, but a lot did.
Do we count this as like, oh, I knew that game though? If I've only ever known it because we've talked about it in videos, like recently even?
Maybe not, maybe not.
We're gonna get one.
Yeah, oh, dude, this is excellent. Dude, I'm sorry, dude. I don't know why I want to mention this one, but I remember seeing this and I was like, this is such a weird game in hindsight now. This came out in 2011 for the Kinect, and I don't know, just in hindsight, it's a wild product.
Did it review well?
I don't think so, no. Did any Kinect games ever review well?
I had one Kinect game that I really liked, besides like the Kinect Adventures game, which I did have fun playing for one afternoon and then never played it again. But there was like a game called Hole in the Wall. It was like an Xbox arcade game. It wasn't like retail in stores. It was like you bought it on the store, and it was just like the TV show Hole in the Wall, except it's in Kinect and you have to like fit into the shapes. It was really stupid, but I had fun with it. That's my only positive experience with the Kinect.
Then do you remember the game The Saboteur?
This might be the first one.
Yeah, this one was relatively famous and it was published by EA.
Okay, I've seen this box art before. I know that game. I've seen it. No idea what the game looks like. I've never played it.
So the game is actually about the occupied Paris. It's set in occupied Paris by, the Germans. The concept is actually kind of cool. When you liberate an area, it turns from black and white into color.
That's the point of the game?
No, that's just like that was kind of the main thing they showed off, yeah.
Can I guess something? Did this game come out in 2009?
Came out in 2009, yeah.
Dude, I could just tell by that art style. It just definitely looked like a graphic t-shirt that someone would wear in 2009.
Oh yeah, I can see that. After this game though, EA shut down the developer Pandemic Studio. There was no updates to the game ever done, and obviously no sequel. You know what Section 8 is in the military?
Oh, I thought it was like housing for people living below the poverty line.
Oh, wait, it could be also that.
I don't know.
No, it could be. So there's two things why it's weird. Either it's like about cheap housing, or it's about like being dishonorably discharged from the military. I'm just like, what the hell is this? And I mean, apparently it's about like an army squad that is so crazy everyone else in the army is scared of them, and they're called Section 8.
Like Bad Company, but future sci-fi.
And this was supposed to rival like Battlefield and stuff like that, so I guess I never did.
I've never seen this box art either. A wild box art. Very colorful.
Like kind of cool box art. They did make a sequel called Section 8 Prejudice that was Xbox Live Arcade only. I sent you this one yesterday, and I think you recognized it.
I had seen this. I'd never seen gameplay of it, though. I've seen the box art, though.
It's like a dark comedy game. You're like a teddy that's supposed to be happy, but you're killing other teddy bears. And look at the gold edition.
Wait, that's so badass. What the hell?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
It's like the Kill Bill, right?
Yeah.
That's cool. They should have just made that.
I mean, yeah, that would have been a better cover.
Yeah, that's cool. I don't know.
Critically and commercially, this was a failure. There was like a sequel called Naughty Bear Panic in Paradise that was like an arcade download only game that was also not that good. This was made by the developer that makes Dead by Daylight, and they do have a skin in Dead by Daylight that references this character actually. Wasn't there like a bunch of like dark comedy? Remember like a game called Fat Princess or something?
No, I've never.
Weird stuff back then. I feel like you have to have seen this one, and maybe it doesn't count. Maybe it's too famous. I don't know.
I've never seen this.
What the hell? Okay.
Alpha Protocol, the espionage RPG.
That's an insane name, by the way. But this is a game made by Obsidian Entertainment from Fallout New Vegas and published by Sega from that blue guy that runs real fast. So
Mega Man.
This was like a branching story RPG where like your choices mattered, and it was tied to the system where you had to answer really quickly. Every time you had to answer, there was like a timer.
Oh, I hate those.
Yeah, but it was like the game was fully designed around it, right? Like it's supposed to put you under pressure. While the ideas were cool, sales-wise, not that cool. And yeah, we've never seen this again. I don't know who owns the rights. Probably Sega or Obsidian. I don't know. I guess Microsoft. It's Obsidian. Microsoft owns the rights. They should bring it back. I don't know why. I remember seeing one of them in the store. But did you know there was 3 CSI crime scene investigation games made by Telltale Games?
I did research on Telltale for a video or something not that long ago. It was like how Telltale got their start, right?
Yeah, there was like a bunch of CSI games over the years, and I've seen many of them in the stores. I just can't pinpoint if I saw these exactly. This is also like some weird.
So if you watch this far, thank you for watching. Check out our other videos if you like discussions like this. Huge thank you to our YouTube members and patrons for making these videos possible. If this video gets 1 billion likes, we'll do the same video again, but on PlayStation 2 games. But it has to get 1 billion. So if it doesn't happen, sorry. Maybe we'll still make it one day, maybe not. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. Check out this other video the algorithm wants you to watch, and we'll see you next time with a new video. Do you think we're going to 1 billion likes?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.